Oh, good. This meeting of the Property Management Committee is being conducted electronically pursuant to Governor Bill Lee's Executive Order 16. I would ask for a motion that conducting the meeting electronically is necessary to protect public health, safety, and welfare in light of the coronavirus. You hear a motion?
So move.
Got a motion from second. Call the roll.
Commissioner Cook,
Yes.
Commissioner Dodd,
Yes.
Commissioner Gooch,
Yes.
Commissioner Johnson, Commissioner Gammon,
Yes.
Chairman McAdoo.
Yes. Okay. First on the agenda, approval of the minutes.
Mr. Chair, I've read these minutes and found everything to be in order, so I will make a motion to approve.
That was second. Any discussion? Call the roll.
Commissioner Dodd,
Yes.
Commissioner Gammon,
Yes.
Commissioner Gooch,
Yes.
Commissioner Johnson, Commissioner Cook,
Yes.
Chairman McAdoo.
Yes. Next, project list for local government grant. Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and members of the committee. On the project list for the local government grant, I want to, just for FYI, this was for information purposes only. Last night, I came before the purchasing committee late yesterday afternoon, and purchasing committee gave me the authority for emergency under our policy and procedures. Purchasing, the mayor has the ability to act on emergency services, but I wanted to make sure, and it worked out good timing that purchasing was meeting last night. So I brought it before purchasing last night for the new roof at the sheriff's department, not on top of the jail, but the sheriff's department. That's the lower level where all the offices are, where dispatch is, where their IT is located, and offices. Earlier this week, the sheriff came to me and showed me pictures. He and Preble came and showed pictures of that I handed out last night, showing where they had actually towels on top of holding plastic that draped down over some of their electrical boxes, their IT facilities, and their communication equipment, and showed the different spots on all the different ceiling tiles going up and down the hall by the offices. They had put out a bid. There were two bids that came in. It's a little bit lengthy, but it's worth explaining, and I told the chairman last night that I would explain this to the Property Management Committee. So they put it out to bid. The company that we had looked at out of Lebanon, Aztec, we had a video from them earlier this year. The company's out of New York. We had the guy that zoomed in, who's the regional manager for Aztec Products. Their manufacturer's out of Florida. Anyway, Mr. Todd with Roofing Solutions out of Wilson County got the bid. Purchasing committee last month gave him the bid at $216,000 to put a new roof on at the sheriff's department. There was another company, Gardner, I believe, it's out of Canada, is the product that they use from Gardner, and he was going to use Tim Looper Roofing to be the contractor, local contractor that applied their liquid, very similar to what Aztec was. It's a liquid acrylic that's applied, and then it hardens and completely seals with no seams. They were approximately $120,000 higher than Aztec. So after it was awarded, we kept back and forth trying to get information about certificate of insurance, all the things that we were required to do business with the county. We wanted certificate of insurance, copy of the contractor's license for the state of Tennessee. We wanted workers' compensation, and we wanted a start date. When can you get this done? Because we're running out of time. We know that the time limit to apply those type of acrylic roofs, you can't really get much into the latter part of October because they can only pour, I think it's above 50 or 55 degrees, and they can't do it when there's moisture in the morning, when dew, late afternoon. They can't have rain or anything else that applies. So we were really kind of under the gun, and then so finally I kept calling the gentleman from Lebanon, and he called me back, and he just came clean with me and admitted that he had discovered, when we started asking for this information, that he had discovered that he did not, his Tennessee contractor's license had expired. He said that his admin person who handles his office let it expire, and in order for him to go back, he was unaware of it because he's out working, trying to make a living. In order for him to get his contractor's license, because he's done work without having one, he'll now have to go back before the Tennessee Contractors Board, which meets every 3 months. You have to notify them in advance, and with COVID and everything else, it's very difficult to meet with any of the boards right now. So he wasn't on this one that meets in September, so that could put him into March, so 6 months down the road. And he says, I'm not going to be able to do the job for you on the sheriff's roof. Well, so either our options at that point was to go with the next highest bidder at $120,000 more, or do I get on the phone and I call Aztec and have a frank business discussion with them? I got hold of the district territory manager that Zoomed in that night and talked with us, and he was totally unaware that, he said, Mr. Todd has always been one of our better performers, and he was totally unaware. And I said, well, I told Mr. Todd, I said, life happens, and I understand that. I'm sorry, but our county commission has to take care of our buildings, and we have an obligation to take care of the taxpayers' dollars. So we're going to have to move on. And so I told Mr. Brock, I said, what is Aztec willing to do? I know you're the supplier of the product, and you use your certified contractors. He said, give me the rest of the day. I'll call you before the day's over with. Got hold of one of his other premier contractors doing a job in Greenville, Tennessee, doing one in Crossville, Tennessee. He has several crews. He was able to honor Tony Todd's quote at $216,000 with the addition of $4,800 just to pick up the per diem to bring his crew in, pay for the travel, and put them up in the motels while they're doing that. If we had a purchase order, then he could have the crew here this next Thursday. The product, over $2,000 gallons of the product will be shipped with boots on the ground, and they'll be ready to start next week. That's a large roof, and then we're going to start in the areas that are most critical over IT and dispatch, because we can't afford anything to short out our dispatch, because that's our primary PSAT. So that's why we took it under the emergency process, and I asked the purchasing committee to go along with that. Seemed to work out. We got certificates of insurance, workers' compensation, contractor's license today. We got W-9, and we sent our ID back to them as far as being, we don't have to pay taxes. So the deal was consummated this morning at 9 o'clock. They were planning on bringing it in. They need some place to store that many gallons of the liquid, because it can't be in the sunlight until they get ready to apply it. It can't be around moisture. Sheriff's office, I don't think has any place large enough to store it because it comes in 50-gallon drums and pallets. So fortunately, through public safety, we had, back when COVID folks first started, not knowing what was going to happen with COVID and how many bodies we were going to come in contact with that we would have to hold because they were backed up in Nashville, we were able to purchase with COVID money that we got reimbursed for. We bought 3 refrigerated trailers. So we're going to get those hauled over from EMA over to the sheriff's office, and we're going to utilize those to put the product in for them. And so they're getting started next Thursday. So the only difference is in what was already allocated of the $216,000 on this grant list is the additional $4,800, which purchasing approved last night. Sheriff seemed to be happy, and so we're moving forward. Any questions? That was a quick 24-hour work issue that we got done and saved the taxpayers $120,000. Thank goodness. Because that was our only other choice to get it done. And Ben, we checked into, you thought there might have been a little bit of a warranty left on that, and checked with the sheriff before we did this from the old roof, and they had tried on several times and the company was no longer in business. So that was the other issue. So we had no warranty there to fall back on, at least to patch it till spring. So that's where we're taking the money from that grant, not having to go to the ending fund balance with it. Okay, any questions? We're good.
Thank you for that update, and it definitely was an emergency because I think everyone on property management, as we discussed, except Commissioner Dodd, is on purchasing. So we all heard it yesterday evening, and now we're hearing it again, and we saw the pictures, and it was definitely an emergency. Definitely. Okay, next on the agenda, historic courthouse renovations.
Mr. Chairman, Ben, where did Steve go? Okay, did he leave anything there? No. Did he leave anything there? Change order? Klein Sweeney? Yes, sir. If you'll hand those out, Ben, I'd appreciate it. Give it to the members. Members, we have completed our renovation. Everything has been done. This is a change order that came in. Once Ben hands those out, we got this afternoon. We'll show you what the change orders are and where I'm recommending to you that we take the money from. So if you'll start at the top, the handicap access ramp. That's not the full ramp, not the big ramp that goes up to the south door. This is when we chose to put in the ramp, Bart Klein, our architect, worked with the renovation company, Williams Restoration, and we put in new sidewalks, okay? So when he got over here to the south side, right beside the handicap ramp, there was no way to come from the parking area to get, it was not sloped out for handicap accessibility. And so we pointed that out to him, and he said that he forgot. And I said, so what you're saying is that our people have to park over here in a handicap parking place on the east side and wheel all the way around if they want to use that ramp. It negates the ability of having this ramp. So you had to play hardball. He said, well, I'll have it hammered out, and I'll pay to have it hammered out and to haul away the material. And I said, no, sir, you're going to pay to put it in because I've already paid for it. What they charged us to lay this new sidewalk, we had already paid for it, and I wasn't going to pay for it again. And I said, and it's actually less concrete, you know, because it slopes down to the grade level. So that's what you'll see is the $4,113.08. We're paying that but we will be getting a credit of the $4,113 from Bart Klein and Sweeney. Okay, so that's how we have justified that. So that you can mark that off as a credit coming in. You can put the marks around that as a credit. Install the carpet to the hallway. So this new carpet right out here by the stairs, the carpet was bad, I believe, going from the door down to in front of the restrooms. So that was this addition of running that carpet on down the hallway to past Reba's office and the restrooms. Remove the extra handrails over here on the west side by the two sets of steps going down underneath to the basement. They had rusted and they were leaning and falling apart. So we asked them to come back and put in extra handrails and do handrails going down the west side, the east side, and of course around the handicap ramps on both sides. That's our largest change order. The handrails coming down the new handicap ramp. So you'll see all the handrails for ADA. That's our biggest charge. Plumbing backflow, we had discovered a pipe that we had no idea where it went. Williams Restoration put a smoke bomb in it and never did see where the smoke came out of. Am I talking about the right one, Ben?
Irrigation. That's irrigation backflow.
Oh, the plumbing backflow?
Yes.
Okay. That's what was put downstairs in the basement. Okay, excuse me. Electrical, there was, when they got into it and trying to run the electric company, they were trying to run the wires that were all synchronized together because it's all controlled by an app. All the lighting, we can change it from blue to red to pink to whatever. There's a control box right over here upstairs on the in the control room. So if it's Alzheimer's, we change it to purple. If it's Mardi Gras or it's heart or anything else, Ben will be able to change it from an app on his phone. So when they were running the lines, they were trying to run the lights that are on the porch, under the eave of the porch, on the east and west side. They ran into a problem. They found out that the old wiring was hooked into a light switch somewhere, and they were fortunate that they didn't have to go through the concrete ceiling between the first and second floor, but that was the cost of that change order. You'll see the next three are credits because they whacked out our 50-year-old boxwoods. Somebody thought that we didn't want them, and they were 50 years old. Jack Carter, our landscaper, he and his daddy planted them. He said we raised them, and he said they on his nursery out there in Barfield. He said they're almost as old as I am, so those are the ones that we made them replace. Really should have gotten more money, but we ended up settling for that. The downspout credits, there were some downspouts that we did not install, got a credit of $1,500, and then the contingency allowance is the credit that was built into the original part of the contract. So you're looking at a total of $24,049 in this last and final change order. My recommendation to you tonight is that we don't go into ending fund balance. We take it out of that grant that has already been approved. We just, with your permission, we tell Lisa just to take it from that grant, that's what it's designed to do. Yes, sir.
Motion, do I hear a second?
Discussion, please.
Yes, sir.
After the second, we got a second? Okay, discussion.
The just point of clarity that the original contract sum plus the first change order should equal $751,000. it's listed here as 786. So it's a $35,000 difference. Just let's get that cleared up, please. And then the 786 plus the 24 equals 810. That is correct. But the 786 is inflated by $35,000. I'd like to know where that may be a typo. Let's just.
Yeah, well, it's a good catch. Thank you, Commissioner, for catching that. Well, Ben, we'll need to get with Lisa in the morning, make sure before that's filed and the auditor catches that, we need to make sure that's corrected. Okay?
So is it a typo?
Well, I won't have to ask where they got their numbers.
Does everyone understand what was brought up?
And where's the 31,000 belong? Yeah. I don't know.
Yeah, correct.
Yeah, well-
The contract sum prior to the $24,049.87
Correct.
is incorrect.
I got you. Commissioner, we'll check
make
on that first thing in the morning.
If my math is correct, then that could be at fault.
Yes. Yeah, you're correct. Rachel, let's make sure that we follow up on that, okay?
Any more discussion on this change order? If not, call the roll.
Commissioner Gammon,
Yes.
Commissioner Gooch,
Yes.
Commissioner Johnson, Commissioner Cook,
Yes.
Commissioner Dodd.
Yes.
Chairman McAdoo.
Yes.
Chairman,
Yes, ma'am.
Notice that the original piece of the fence is down there, and I think it has 1829 on it.
1859. Yes, ma'am.
That's before electricity was put in this courthouse.
Well, I don't think Thomas Edison had invented it yet. Ben Franklin did, didn't he? Kick it on a key?
Lightning rods.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Change orders and what we're doing here to the courthouse and what has been done over these years.
Yeah. Well, we've got another plaque coming to go on the stone. We're making, I refer to it as Murfreesboro Stonehenge, but that came from Boone Westfall. He passed away this past year and got hold of his brother Chris, and they donated those stones, which are the original steps to the courthouse. I don't know how he got them, but I don't know how Bubba Woodfin got that piece of fence either. But you know, it's we're going to honor them for making that donation.
I do want to just build on that. I've not shared with this group just how great this building looks. So it's complete. It looks fantastic. The new handicap ramp, the covering of the concrete, the rails, just the whole work. So
It's
I just want to
beautiful.
congratulate Steve and Mayor and this group for doing such a beautiful job.
Landscaping.
Commissioner, it's a beautiful building. We all be proud of.
Landscaping also. The
Beautiful.
Yeah.
They're walking through the flooded area.
But you know, it's really kind of cool because Steve was down there the other day and he said it was like people were waiting in line just to sit on the bench and eat an ice cream cone with their kids or their friend or whoever. We've got the benches back out today. They were placed out front on the east side. And we've seen since over the course of the last 30 days, I've seen 3 picnickers. 2 girls sitting out there and they spread a blanket out and had their little basket in the grass under the sycamore tree, and then I saw probably 2 or 3 guys and younger, college students, and 2 or 3 girls, and they were all sitting out there eating just in the shade. It was kind of cool,
Look good.
I'm very proud of this courthouse, and this is, this is the second renovation I have lived through. And I hope the residents of Rutherford County will appreciate it like we do.
Well, we hope so.
It's a beautiful courthouse, and it's withstood a lot of damage over the years.
Oh, yeah, yeah. And it's worth preserving, and I think it will send a signal to the whole downtown area and Commissioner Dodd's district that our downtown's vibrant. You know, it sends a signal to everybody else. They want to make their buildings look good and, you know, build the businesses back up. And if we can just get rid of this COVID thing, maybe things will start hopping again.
Okay, next on the agenda, archives building renovation.
I'll have to yield to Mr. Mankin on that one. Our Director of Facilities, give us an update.
I'm sorry, we're updating on...
Archives first. And of course, remember, PBA is building, they're doing the renovation on the archives and 20 North. What we're referring to, the old judicial building, is 20 North. And he is our eyes and ears in representing the PBA. Okay.
At the archives building, the foundation and the floor slab's complete, and all the forms have been removed. Steel bolts, the anchor bolts are in place. They set door frames today, waiting on steel to be delivered. Should be the first or second week of September, and that project is currently on schedule. So no hiccups with that project.
And no change orders.
No change orders on that project. Okay, on the judicial or 20 North repurposing, the demo has been completed on all floors. Metal stud framing complete down to the first, just a couple of walls left. Rough in electrical complete on the 4th and 5th floor. They're working on the 2nd floor. The drywall's being installed on the 4th and 5th floor. The mechanical HVA, the rough in duct work has been completed on the 4th and 5th. Working on 2. Our low voltage contractor is on site. He's completed the demo. He's begun to pull cable, and that project is actually a couple of weeks ahead of the schedule. But we have 3 revisions from the architect, and we have 6 change orders up to this point. And I'll be glad to go through those change orders if y'all would like to hear them. The biggest change order was amiss by I think maybe the architect and the electrical engineer. We're having to go back and buy the low voltage package, and that was $156,253. It wasn't in the original contract. There was a...
Mr. Chairman, if you'll let me interject here on this change order so I can inform and let the committee know where we are. Ben, if you'll step aside so Mrs. Cook can see me, if you'll come back over here to my left, and so I can see the members, I'd like to get their reaction. So Ben came to me, it's been, 3-4 weeks ago, I guess, when they discovered that everybody started pointing the finger between the architect, the contractor, and us of, whoops, there's no low voltage or data line for the computers. Okay, so started diving into it, asking questions. We still haven't resolved it. However, at PBA last week, Stan Vault's our new chairman of PBA. We went over, took the tour, we met with them. We felt like that we told the contractor, because they were at that stage of pulling the wire. And before they started putting sheetrocks up and et cetera, and they still had the framing still available to where they could get the low voltage wires for our computers and where they were supposed to be placed, we didn't want to stop and try to figure out who was at fault, who left this out of the contract. So the decision was made to give them the green light to continue. We'll work out the details later. I told Brick Murphy, who is the attorney for the PBA, I told him last week, I said, we just need to get to the bottom of this and be prepared, because in my opinion, after hearing the testimony from the architect, she admitted in front of the PBA that it was her fault. She missed it. And so I'm not going to, I don't think taxpayers should have to pay for the $151,000. That's why they carry errors and omissions insurance or architect C&O. I think it was more of the engineer, their engineer for Gresham Smith, telling our contractor, the electrical contractor, that we, the county, were going to install that. And talking with Darren, Cody, and Wilkie, they brought it up on numerous occasions. Have you got the data lines in? Have you got the data lines in? Have you got the data lines in? And everybody just assumed that why do we want an architect if they're not going to come back and say, are you sure you're doing the data lines? I mean, we hire them to put everything in, right? Between them and the contractor, when the numbers came in on the final bid, it was minus that. So they're being installed, continuing ahead. So we got a little rough water, but we'll work it out. So that's why we're still on track as far as the schedule is concerned. But it was concerning, because I believe on the new judicial building, it was something very similar to this with data lines over there. Am I correct? Mm-hmm. And Gresham Smith was the architect on that, and that's before I got here. So we'll work that out. We'll be back and let you know how the PBA resolves this.
Would y'all like to hear the list of change orders?
Want to hear the other 5 change orders?
There's 9, well, there's 3 revisions to the plans and 6 change orders. And the bottom line at this point is $228,000. And so we've only received 3 change orders. I got an estimate on the rest of it today, just so that I could share that, because what I would like to do, I hate to rip through the contingency on the first couple of months of the project, and so with y'all's approval, I guess, then what I would like to do is present that to the budget committee next month to try to get some of that money put back into the project.
All in all, it's kind of moving on schedule.
It's moving. It is on schedule. Yes, sir.
Not too many hiccups so far.
Well, on the archives project. Now there was
Pointing off a different story.
on the judicial building. There's a lot of stuff that's hidden that they didn't discover, of course, till they started tearing into the demo. And so a lot of that stuff, the only way that we could have, a lot of the things that they're finding that some of these change orders are about, we would have had to demo that prior to the contractor showing up before we would have known about it.
It was interesting on the wainscoting in some of the courtrooms, because we did some at a later point in time from the time it was first built. Didn't we go back in and do 2 more floors?
The 4th floor, yes, sir.
4th floor later. Mm-hmm. So, like, they showed us where there was no sheetrock behind the wainscoting. They just put up the wainscoting with no sheetrock. They just stuck some insulation back there and with no sheetrock. And there was some that had just glue. The glue was so thick, there was no way to scrape the ribbons of glue off of it, so they're going to have to come in and rip all that out and put in new sheetrock. So those were hidden things that when you're trying to, I guess that's what you get into with old houses and old buildings. You find things you can't really see. Stan Vault had a pretty good he's pretty wise sometimes. He said, well, if you look at when this building was built in 82, we were going through kind of a recession. Prices were through the roof, and contractors were looking for the cheapest and easiest way, or the county commission was telling the contractor to build it as cheaply as they could, and that's why they didn't put sheetrock behind the wainscoting. So that's part of the one of the bigger change orders you got tonight.
Yes, sir. That's the seventh change order is going to be. They're estimating. I haven't gotten it yet, but they're estimating that the sheetrock for the first, second, and fourth floor, where they found some things, is going to be about $48,000, and just where the wainscot was glued to the sheetrock, if it would have been screwed and nailed, they could have pulled it off and probably patched it. The fact that it was glued, it ripped it apart, and so there's just been several things like that they've run into.
Just a lot of things that you really couldn't anticipate.
Some things we did anticipate and kind of got omitted, but inadvertently, but we're trying to catch up. So
That's the joys of remodeling an old building.
it's still a good building in spite of it's
It's still a joy.
right. That's exactly right.
Commissioner Dodd?
And the all of those components add up to the 228, including the sheetrock estimate you just mentioned.
That's correct.
All that.
This is
Just
some of
an
these
estimate at this point.
That's they haven't got the solid numbers back, but I think those are the 228 is going to be a pretty hard number, I think, by the time it's all said and done. There's one revision for some electrical changes that it may not cost $1,000, but it could potentially be $3,000, and so I listed it at as $3,000 just so that we have enough to finish up. So.
Hey, any questions on the change orders? I guess this is just information only. We don't. Do I
Get a
need-
motion on change order, don't you?
I thought we were gonna do it next month.
Do it. You want to do it
We
next
need
month?
to,
You want to wait?
I
and do
need
it?
to ask for this money for
Okay.
the
Okay. Budget. Okay.
committee. Also, one other thing while I'm talking about it, the FF&E or the furniture, so that number came in over budget. We budgeted $150,000 for furniture, and it came in at $239, and so we've combed through all the furniture, and it's mid-grade furniture. I told them that what we were looking for was furniture that would stay screwed together, not a lot of bells and whistles, that would be something comparable to what he would sell to the state offices. And so that number came in high. We went over it yesterday for hours and trying to pull out anything that was just that we didn't have to have. And so I haven't got that number back yet. I should have it back before the PBA meets next Thursday, and I'll be sure and share that with y'all at the next meeting.
Okay,
Mr. Chairman, before we leave 20 North,
yeah, you need to.
yes, sir, I'd like to share with the committee, Ben, if you'll step back over here. I called the chairman and discussed this with the chairman yesterday. It's an idea, and I want to put it before you. So, we've got the third floor that's the bathroom is all the bathrooms, first, second, third, fourth, and fifth, all the bathrooms are being redone and brought up to ADA specifications. But we had no tenant or anybody to occupy the third floor, putting IT on fourth and fifth, probation on first and half of the second. So we'll still have half of the second that probation scaled back and said they did not need. That still leaves us with the third floor. So I started doing some checking around to see, could we find a tenant, a tenant or somebody that could utilize that third floor space. So picked up the phone, I called our district attorney, Jennings Jones. they're down right down the street here, and I'd heard that they were looking to move, and I said, what's your square footage requirement? And he said, we need a little over 14,000 square feet for all of his assistant district attorneys. I said, that's not large enough. I had Ben tell me what our approximate square footage is, eliminating the restroom and hallways, and it's about 7,400, I believe is what I wrote down. But in talking with Jennings, he said, I do have a need for our children's support department, which is located over on Heritage Center Drive over by Roy Thompson, a couple of streets over from Northfield. And they're on top of each other. They're paying about $17 a square foot for that office space over there. And so he put me in touch with Robin Gentry, who's heading up that program for the District Attorney's Conference. They called the District Attorney's Conference. They were excited about exploring the opportunity of being able to move into the third floor here on the square. Traffic-wise, Robin said that they have between 30 and 40 parents with children per week, meaning they come in, take the DNA to find out, is that really the father, et cetera, and work with them on counseling and et cetera through the District Attorney's Conference. I threw out a number of $18 a square foot, which is about the going concern. That's what I used on the one stop that we'll talk about here in a few minutes on going price for rental property. They want to continue to explore that opportunity. I talked with Lisa, and I suggested that we take the $810,000 right next door that we just sold the bank for, take that money and roll it into the 20 North building to finish out. And right now would be a perfect time to go ahead and renovate that third floor. Those dollars are there. We don't have to tap into anything. We just reinvest those dollars at $18 a square foot times the 7,440 square feet. It'd probably amortize itself out and pay for itself in six and a half years. And then probably, I think it was between $120,000 and $130,000 a year of income that we would continue to get from the state of Tennessee. That's an idea that I'd like to throw out. Now would be a good time. It wouldn't delay it, Ben. I had talked to Ben, wouldn't delay. They could go ahead and get the C of O on the other floors and let the contractor. So I just thought as an idea, is that something you'd like to look at? And come back to you next month after we pursue and get more commitments. I would not do anything until we get something in writing from the District Attorney's Conference in Nashville. It's not Jennings Jones, it was the conference that they all belong to, would have to commit to the rental. They have a 90-day out clause on their current lease. And I said, well, we'll have plenty of time for that. Advance notice. Comments?
Whoever we would rent it to, we would kind of renovate to suit their needs.
Yes, sir.
And you believe roughly that the money from the other building, the $800,000, so would be enough to renovate the third floor?
I think it would be less than that because we're already in the current contract that we have on the renovation. We're already doing the bathroom, and that's the most expensive part, Ben. You make comments on that. Go back to the microphone.
Yeah, get on back.
I spoke with Cadell, the contractor, and of course we wouldn't have the general to pay the general conditions or that much extra in general conditions and the staging part of the program. And so he just threw a number out he said 600, maybe more, but he said that it would be if you're going to do it, it would be a good time. It would add some days to the progress of this, but he feels like he would be able to get the occupancy. He would be able to get the certificate of occupancy at the same time that he was going to get it, and by that time they still might have maybe a couple of months of finished work on the third floor to finish that up. So that's kind of, he was totally on board with it. He said it would be a good time if we were going to do anything on the third floor.
And did you say that and what's the name of the organization again?
Children's Support Services. It's where the district attorneys work with the fathers and mothers to make sure that the children have support, and they will take them into court or incarcerate them. You know, they represent the children.
That's funded by the state.
That is funded by the state through the district attorneys conference, which all the district attorneys are part of.
And so, did you say that where they are now, they would need to give a 90-day notice, or you say
they have a 90-day out clause where they are currently over on Heritage Park Drive, so they could cancel their contract with 90-day notice. And it would take, I don't know how long, but we're 8 months into getting this 20 North completed anyway.
So before we would start, we would make sure that we had a contract signed,
in hand, signed by the state of Tennessee or whoever stream that handles their leasing property.
I have good feelings about it. I don't. Anybody else might.
Now's the time to.
Yeah, I agree that the costs sound really good, that we're getting a good price per square foot. The only hesitation I have in our eagerness is it took, at the one stop, we were dealing with a state entity, and it has taken months to...
Well, and I did verify that, Commissioner. Because the DA's conference, for whatever reason, they don't have to go, we don't have to put it out to bid or anything, that they have the ability to sign a contract. And I'll share something else with you when we get to One Stop here in a minute. It's kind of surprising about state government, believe it or not.
Good. No discussion? Okay. And this is information only. I guess we'll come back with the actual deal by next month.
Well, if that's the will of the committee to give the mayor the ability to go ahead and explore the idea and come back with more solid information.
Do I have a motion to that effect?
So moved, Mr. Chair.
Second. Any more discussion?
I guess what I would need permission to do would be to tell the architect to go ahead and try to put a number. We could get an exact,
Sure.
or a real close number on exactly what it
We
would
definitely want to turn it over. Once we get a commitment, the way I look at it, once we get a commitment from the district attorney's conference, then I would like to turn it back over to the PBA and let you all handle it and oversee it on behalf of the commission.
One other thing, do I need to take these change orders, this amount of money, to the budget committee? Do I need?
I think it'd be good if those change orders, we would probably need a motion.
Yeah, we'll get a motion to that effect. So
Take it on the budget.
right now, we'll voting on the idea of third floor. So everybody understand what this motion is about right now? Okay, if so, I'm gonna ask to call the roll.
Commissioner Gooch,
Yes.
Commissioner Johnson,
Yes.
Commissioner Gammon,
Yes.
Commissioner Dodd,
Yes.
Commissioner Cook,
Yes.
Chairman McAdoo.
Yes. Okay, now entertain a motion on the change orders for the figure approximately 228,000. Was that the figure?
That's
I would just
the best
say
of my knowledge.
either send a positive or a negative recommendation to budget.
Don't put an exact
Don't
figure.
put a dollar in there, just say it's a positive recommendation for property management if the numbers could be worked out.
Everybody understand what we're doing?
Yeah, I would make a motion to move a yet to be determined change order for the 20 North to budget.
Motion.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Gannon. Any other discussion?
I do look forward to talking more in depth about the 156K. I'm more supportive of that than you may be, so I want to have some dialogue.
Absolutely.
Any more discussion? If not, call the roll.
Commissioner Cook,
Yes.
Commissioner Dodd.
Yes.
Commissioner Gammon,
Yes.
Commissioner Gooch,
Yes.
Commissioner Johnson,
Yes.
Commissioner McAdoo, Chairman McAdoo.
Yes. Okay. Next on the agenda, Judicial Center.
We're discussing the windows, I guess, the broken windows. And so I took that, we wanted to talk to the attorney about I think it was $13,000 for the glass, and I talked to the PBA's attorney about that. And he said that if it's got now the seals on the windows have a 10-year warranty against it's double pane window. It's got a 10-year warranty against leakage, and if it's got any kind of finish on the window, that's got a 10-year warranty. But there was only a 1-year warranty on the glass itself. They've agreed to come off on the labor, and they're giving us one of the windows, and the PBA attorney, Brick Murphy said that that it would cost more to try to pursue that. If he said a 1-year warranty, if it's in writing, then we would have to. It would probably end up in court if we tried to pursue it, and it wouldn't pan out for us probably. So that's where we're at. So if I could get permission to go ahead and the dealer or the vendor that we were buying the glass from is ready to go. If I can go ahead and get that moving.
How many windows we're talking about?
There's three broken windows. There's 2 on 6 and 1 on the first floor. It's double pane glass, and just one of the panes is broken. And so we know one of them got hit by a door that flew into it.
On the first floor.
The other 2, we don't exactly know whether it was stress or what, but the other 2, we don't know. But the price of installing them is about equal to the price of the glass itself. So that's on 6, with the equipment that they have to use to lower those down to the window. So.
About what was the cost again? You admit was it $6,000 a piece, or was there some?
I'm sorry, I don't have that. I think it was going to be about 18, so I think you're right, and they've reduced it down to 14,000, I think.
Half off labor and gave us a piece of glass.
That's everything. Yes, sir.
Motion to approve repairing the glass that we've been discussing for a few months.
More discussion? Everybody familiar with what we're talking about?
Is there gas between those panes?
Yes, ma'am. Mm-hmm. They've got to see if that gas, if they get a leak, they'll fog. But so far that hasn't happened. We just had some broken glass. So
I hated that it happened to the 2 windows, but looking at all the glass that's in that building, and that's all we're looking at is 2 windows right now, I think that's an excellent percentage right there. So we just move on with it. Any more discussion on the windows? If not, call the roll.
Commissioner Dodd,
Yes.
Commissioner Gammon,
Yes.
Commissioner Gooch,
Yes.
Commissioner Johnson,
Yes.
Commissioner Cook,
Yes.
Chairman McAdoo.
Yes. Okay. Next on the agenda, One Stop.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Ben. Members of the committee, got a call from the lady at Stream who handles all the renting space for the state of Tennessee. Last week, she said, I got good news and I got bad news. and we had made our submission for the new facility to add on to our location with the clerk's office at the corner of Blaze and Fortress. And I said, okay, well, tell me the bad news first. And she said, well, we have chosen to stay where we are with Pedigo out on Middle Tennessee Boulevard. They will keep the driver testing station in that same facility along with the highway patrol. I said, well, it's pretty bad news because that's what we wanted. And we've been working on it for such a long time. She said, well, I got good news. I said, well, put it on me. So she said, back during the budget this past spring, the General Assembly allocated money into the budget to create 7 new express, Department of Safety express centers. She said they'll be very similar to a Verizon or an AT&T store with there'll be less personnel working in it, but there'll be a lot of electronic kiosk for driver's license renewals only. So that'll keep all the folks like myself who needs to renew from standing in line for 2 hours or 5 hours or get frustrated and come back the next week and do the same thing. For all those people who just moved here, trying to get their driver's license, trying to get a gold star or whatever it may be. Instead of 10,000 square feet that we had estimated that they would need for us to build a suit for them at $18 a square foot, I said we're going to need between 5,000 and 6,000 square feet. And it's coming to Rutherford County, so you're automatically going to get one, and we want to do it with y'all. So she said a gentleman will be calling you, which he has. We've got an appointment set up the first of next week. He'll be coming down from the Department of Safety. I've asked the chairman to be in that meeting. Anybody else is welcome to attend as well. They're going to come down and strike the deal. They don't have to put it out to bid. So the department, once the commissioner signs off on it, it will go to the Tennessee Building Commission. 1st of October in their meeting. They just signed off on it because the Commissioner of Safety has already signed off on it. So it'll be hours we can go ahead and start moving in that direction. So we finally, after, how long have we been working on this?
Over
2 years?
a year.
Yeah, over a year.
At least.
Finally found a location. Now we've got a commitment from the state. We'll build this out. We'll go ahead and start on Lisa's building and get that done and move forward. So now, I guess Stan Vault threw out a question. He said, you may want to go back and talk to the Property Management Committee. Would you know how Stan goes, would you think it'd be smart to go ahead and build out to 10,000 square feet and have extra room for the future while you're building it? You already got your parking lot, your landscaping, your infrastructure, everything else. I don't know. I just thought I'd throw that out as a question. I don't have anybody in mind to move in there. We can't, by law, we can't really rent it out to take public dollars and rent it to get money off of, except from the state.
So, Mr. Chair, so if they need 6,000 or 7,000 square feet,
Yes, sir.
and we build it out to 10,000, that's only going to leave 3,000 to 4,000.
Yeah.
So who would be in the market?
I don't know. I throw that out. I don't know if you all had any ideas of who would even possibly move in there. You know, a school board. I don't have a clue. Some other government entity that could lease it. I don't have anybody in mind. I don't know anybody screaming for extra space right now. And really, brick and mortar is beginning to shrink. Everybody's working from home. So in the future. Now, I know between us and the city, there is the possibility down the road of building a neighborhood library on that same tract of property going towards the bridge. We discussed that in the past, but in my opinion, I threw that out. I think that we meet with these folks and we move on with Lisa's building and the 6,000 square feet for the Express Center and call it a job. And then my next question is going to be, in talking with Stan, the recommendation of, I know Bart Klein has been wanting it since he had this building, but Stan and I both agreed, let's just let them interview, PBA, interview 3 or 4 architects, let them come in and see what they're willing to do and how they can work it for us.
Mr. Chairman, I have a question.
Go ahead, Commissioner Gannon.
Mayor, at one time, at one of our meetings, does the state have how long will they lease it for? Is this, they can only go for so many years. It's 7 years, am I correct?
No, sir, it's 10 years. They do 10-year increments, but, you know, the way the state is, you get 10 years down the road, they're not going to,
They normally stay where, once they go, I used to work with the one in Antioch, and I mean, they've been there for years in that area.
They went into the old Hickory Hollow Mall somewhere down there, didn't they?
They're right across from it. They were over there by the airport on Murfreesboro Road and then moved over to Antioch. That's where I was stationed at.
The state usually stays places till the ceiling falls in. I don't see them moving in 10 years when they got a nice location with especially something built to their needs. I'd like to have the highway patrol over there, Commissioner. Maybe we can negotiate that next week.
Basically, they have renewed the contract or whatever for
Pettigo
out there.
Yes, sir.
So, a good case scenario would be to go ahead with the original. And I know this sounds like pie in the sky, but the Highway Patrol and Department of Safety is always involved in schools and classes and DUI things of that nature. So,
Well,
if
why don't you come to the meeting next week and throw that pie in the sky out and see if they'd be interested in a training facility right there off the interstate? You know, it's a good idea. You know?
So to me, that sounds like that might be a good idea to build for the future. And because I know for a fact these DUI classes and everything, you know, they're full. So, you know, I don't know.
Put your
while you're building, to me it seems like it'd be the prudent thing to do to go ahead.
Well, it makes sense from a building perspective. I would assume, Commissioner Dodd, I guess when you're building, it's much cheaper to do it then when you're putting in all your infrastructure, landscaping, and irrigation, everything, to do it all at one time.
I would think so, but I'm not in favor of speculating beyond very specific needs with very specific customers.
Yeah,
So
you could.
I wouldn't want to build additional space unless we had
commitment.
Yeah,
exactly.
What space would you be talking about? How many square feet?
About 4,000. Yeah, about 4,000. What we had planned for the 10, you know, but why don't you put on your colonel hat and if you can dust it off and come and talk to them guys from the Department of Safety and see if they'd be interested and commit to it.
I don't know, we may get a commitment.
Can you pull rank? You still got a little juice?
So you don't think that would be say just build a shell and, you know?
I would not.
I wouldn't.
No,
I wouldn't.
The shell could be. What square footage to build? What? I'd
rather have a commitment to build a suit.
You know, if New Express want to take it on themselves to build a 10,000 square feet, I'd go for that.
Please come next week.
It'd be prudent to make sure there's a sewer stub out in whatever direction the parking lot may go. Make sure the water mains is sufficient to upbuild. Some of that infrastructure, a grading contractor may want to level a pad while they're there, or waste excess material in a strategic location. That would pay off, but I would rather build to suit, is my initial thought.
Sure, that makes sense.
We built a shell on Paul's, and it proved to be very frugal for us to do that, and finished it out later.
Mm-hmm. Well, we'll find out. We'll know a lot more on the 2nd of September next week. So we'll we'll come back and report to you.
Know that we got 6,000 square foot.
Yeah, that'll be committed. So we can go ahead and, yeah, we can go ahead and start on Lisa's building, and we'll have the Express Center.
I'm for going ahead and starting as quickly as possible on that project, because like it said, it's been a year and a half, going on a couple of years, and if you ever go over there and look at what Lisa is working with, it's not going to get better.
Yeah, it was
It's
a
getting
year.
worse.
It was a year in March when I shook the Commissioner Long's hand, and he said, "We're in." So it's taking a lot. So
The traffic is getting worse over there.
yes, sir.
Okay, we'll be discussing that the second.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
I'll have Rachel send out an email that anybody would like to attend. We'll probably meet up here in 205 next week. Date and time of that meeting, Rachel, if you'll make note of that and let the members know. No, that's just FYI, letting you know where we're at.
Okay, there's no more questions on One Stop. Any discussion on One Stop? We'll move on to community care.
No action, Mr. Chairman. We're still locked down at community care. We thought we had 2 cases. We had the bus driver tested positive, and we had 1 staff person test positive. We did rapid test on 22 patients today. Just a little while ago, Commissioner Cook came back all negative. Thank goodness for that. But we're still locked down, and until we release that being locked down, we'll come back in and start the construction on the additional wing. But that's where we are.
Okay, next on the agenda, Marshall Knob Baptist Church property, and it's my understanding that we needed some information for tonight's meetings that we didn't get. So I am going to entertain a motion to defer that until next month.
So move.
Got a motion? Do I hear a second?
Yes.
Hear a second. Any discussion on that? If not, call the roll.
Commissioner Gammon,
Yes.
Commissioner Gooch,
Yes.
Commissioner Johnson,
Yes.
Commissioner Dodd,
Yes.
Commissioner Cook,
Yes.
Chairman McAdoo.
Yes. Any other business to come before property management tonight? If not, I entertain a motion to adjourn.